Welcome in. We are back for the wire. Well, week 9's over. On to week 10. Here we go.
It's moving right along. Double digits. I think on the red zone, they said at some point when one game ended, it was halfway through the season, officially regular season. Yeah, crazy how fast it goes.
Yep, and because of that, there are 4 teams on bye this week. Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. Yay.
Yeah, not the worst. Like, not a lot of players, I would say, from those 4 teams, 1 or 2 for each. But yeah, not a terrible one. We do have some big bye weeks coming up, though, for sure.
Yeah, so with that in mind, there's also been injuries, which we don't like, but it's just how it goes. Any case, I'm going to help you out best we can. And we'll start like we always do with quarterback. I'm going with the guy who I think you could potentially play the rest of the season. Because let me tell you, the strength of schedule for him for the quarterback position is awesome. It's ridiculous. I talked about it last Wednesday with Neil. But Daniel Jones, 11.7% rostered, just put up his best week, 24.4 fantasy points against a solid Commanders team. Granted, he did rush for a touchdown, had 54 yards, was the second best running back behind Tracy and on this team. So looked pretty solid. And then going back to the well and grabbing Matthew Stafford, 48.8%. Shows you really only needs one good wide receiver to be out there. Puka was beat up and decided to throw a punch and got ejected early. But he also gets a great matchup in the Dolphins, who can't really stop anything, it seems. And, just put up 25.8 fantasy points 2 weeks ago. Last week, just 18.9. Currently, QB 12 on this week. We'll see how tonight goes. Maybe Baker or Mahomes passed him, but we'll just have to wait and see. So those are where I'm going. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I like those for sure. Hopefully Stafford's weapons don't get ejected for throwing punches and stuff. But yeah, when Puka and Cooper Kupp are out there, Stafford's numbers have been ridiculous. It hasn't been much the last season and a half. The 3 of them are out there healthy, but when they are, they're awesome. So, and Stafford's awesome. So yeah, I like that. And again, Daniel Jones rushing floor. So a couple more. There's actually good options this week. I mean, Justin Herbert under that 50% threshold. They've been throwing the ball more, had his best fantasy game of the year. I believe it was. Maybe last week was actually, because he had 50 yards on the ground. But, he's been throwing more since they come out of the bye. 34, 39, 32, and 27 pass attempts. So they're about averaging about 32, 33 pass attempts per game, which is way more than the first 4 weeks before their bye. Threw for 280 and 2. And I think it's really important, actually, kind of underrated, and we'll talk about him later, but Quentin Johnston, I think, is actually pretty important for touchdowns, in the red zone or the long plays, because that's been the only thing really since the bye that's been the problem for Herbert is, being consistent with touchdowns. He's had 2 the last 2 weeks, and I think Quentin Johnston coming back this week really helped him as well. Obviously the busted plays and stuff, but I think it will help him in the red zone and kind of be that body to score at the very least. And then Tua is also right around that 43% mark, so he's always a pretty good option. Hasn't really done it too much since coming back from the concussion. I mean, 230 and 2, you'll take that if you're streaming for sure. So haven't had the massive game from him, which is always he's capable of, the 5 touchdown type of game. So I think there's some good options out there.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting because, again, I agree with Herbert. Johnston seems to be getting that big play. Same note, Josh Palmer, big play. Like the big plays are opening up. Ladd McConkey kind of is rolling the underneath stuff, as well as the litany of tight ends that they seem to throw out there. A platoon of tight end that they just seem to just throw to. So we'll see. I have to keep seeing it because we have a rough slate of games, and I thought for sure that they were going to blow it again this week. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, you got Titans, Bengals, Ravens the next 3 weeks. So Bengals and Ravens you can actually throw on, and Titans I think you can also throw on too. So it's not terrible, but it is time to start looking into the fantasy playoffs and stuff. If you're kind of looking ahead, you think you're going to make there. And he doesn't have a great playoff schedule. Chiefs, Bucks is good, but Chiefs and Broncos are in there. It's Bucks, Broncos, Patriots. So it's not the worst, not the best.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. All right, Steve, you got anybody you want to throw in or talk about?
I'll add on to the Daniel Jones. That's always an interesting one, but you just got to keep an eye on if he actually keeps the job. That's going to be a question week to week going forward. Deep dive. I think Bryce Young might be worth a look if you're looking for somebody in a very deep league. Fantasy playoffs is very friendly to Carolina. They've got Cowboys, Cardinals, Bucks in the fantasy playoffs. So,
well, on that same note, Will Levis / Mason Rudolph. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not willing to go that deep and trust the Titan.
It's going to be interesting because I think that winning that game against New Orleans bought Bryce Young some time, but we'll see what happens after their week 11 bye. I think that's going to be the big thing is how is Dalton feeling after the car accident, and are they going to let Young just keep the job the rest of the season? Because you have to see what you've got. I don't know why they wouldn't, but never thought they would have gone to Dalton in the first place. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they both have one win on the year, right? So I've been saying this for a while. It's like, are you just going to go 3-14 in 2024 with Andy Dalton? Like, that doesn't really make sense. So I kind of agree. I think it's going to be Bryce Young, and to his credit, and I've heard other people talk about it, they kind of looked at the film already. Like he's looked better. He has looked better. So, it's not eye-popping numbers, but just he looks a little bit more competent and like he knows what's going on. So, yeah, I don't mind it.
And on that same note, Caleb Williams is regressing pretty hard. After the bye, it looks like he's holding on to the ball too long again. Instead of just going through it and figuring it out, it's been back to the beginning all over. And I don't know what happened from then to now, except for the bye week.
Well, I think what we need to really focus on more, and we don't do it enough, is like besides the top tier guys, basically all the rushing guys, and maybe if you want to throw like Burrow and Goff in there as well, you got to look at matchups. Like it's really about matchups. And Bears and Caleb Williams had Colts, Rams, Panthers, Jags that 4-week stretch when they were just like going off, and those are like the defenses to target, So, and then since then, tougher defenses, I don't know if Arizona's really considered that, but they have their moments and they have a defensive head coach. So we really got to just look at matchups like anyone outside like that, those top 5, Lamar, Hurts, Josh Allen, Burrow kind of guys. You just got to really, really play the matchups.
All right. Just wanted to bring it up, touch on it. So, because I'm sure a lot of people that's probably going to be another available option coming up shortly. If it's not this week, it'll be next week that Caleb Williams is below that 50% rostered percentage. So, all right.
They also have a gauntlet to finish the year. So,
yeah,
like what Mike is saying about the matchups, it's not like it gets better. It gets significantly worse.
Yeah. And these last 2 games were supposed to be part of that good stretch, the Commanders and Cardinals.
Right.
And it just hasn't been,
Yeah. Commanders have surprisingly been a pretty good defense, and they keep just surprising me. So, really, really enjoying that team overall and seeing how they flipped around. It's very Texan-esque from last year. So, hopefully they don't regress as hard as they are this year. So, okay. Out of quarterback, into the running backs, because, again, why not? First one I'm bringing up is because it's probably the most significant handcuff, and Tyler Algier, 40.8% rostered. He is a must roster if you have Bijan Robinson. Mason breaks it down every Friday, how he's just an incredible runner, has one of the best broken tackle rates, and there's a reason why he's continuously being used on the Falcons, even though Bijan is the clear one. So it's interesting. I'm just very curious to see how that ends up working out, because if, like I said, Bijan were to go down, Algier takes the reins and probably runs away with it for the rest of the season, and you want that on your team. So, and then we'll bring up the guy who I think could potentially be a trade target, has been brought up, was a health scratch this week. Khalil Herbert, 6.5% rostered. It may be too late if you haven't got him already. But if you have the opportunity to grab somebody like that tonight, might as well. Put him on your bench and see what he can do. So outside of that, it's our normal guys. So let's talk about it, Mike.
It's just handcuff guys. There's really not, like, if you desperately need to, which is a good thing. Like, that means running backs are not getting hurt and they're performing, like, and the running backs have been awesome this year, way better than the wide receivers. And so it's just a bunch of handcuffs. Blake Corum kind of probably tops my list here of handcuffs. Like, I'm going to be picking him up even if I don't have Kyron, especially if I have him, but we've talked about that over and over. You think, we're getting closer to the playoffs. So I know we have 5 weeks. We have a lot of bye weeks coming up, but if you're sitting there and you're 7-2 after this week, or 8-1 or better, start consolidating your roster and protecting yourself. But Blake Corum, I'm going to try and be rostering even if I have Kyron or not, because Kyron Williams is playing like every single snap. It's ridiculous. Like, they are not working in any running back whatsoever. He's out there 99% of the snaps. He literally, I think, came out on one snap, or maybe it was a couple. But it's just, I worry about that. That's been the biggest knock, like, on Kyron, is like, can he stay healthy? He missed time last year, and they were using him heavily. Like, if something happens to him, Blake Corum could win you your championship. So, I'm going to be taking Blake Corum on there and just holding him, especially as these bye weeks start to pass a little bit. And you don't need, to hold those middling guys that aren't really, you're never going to start. And the only reason you have them is for a bye week. So he tops my list. And then, of course, other guys, Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, who is getting a little bit more work, Isaac Garendo, don't forget about him. And Mason was hurt going into the bye. CMC is activated, is able to return, but, you could squeeze one more week potentially out of Garendo if Mason's out, and they're going to kind of ease McCaffrey back in a little bit. And then the other trade guy is Miles Sanders. Again, probably too late, but just, if he gets traded to the Cowboys or something, everyone's going to want him.
Yeah. And because I kind of noticed it this past week, but Cam Akers. We talked about Aaron Jones and constantly being an issue. He kind of has quietly pushed Ty Chandler out of that role. And I don't know if a whole lot of people are noticing or not, but it's a name I'm going to bring up just because it could be something. So, all right.
Yeah. He has seemed to take over that number 2 role. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I was super surprised, but all right, Steve, you have anybody that we missed? Anybody you want to include?
Nope. Akers is a good one. They traded to bring him back because Chandler wasn't getting the job done as the number 2. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Add a running back into wide receiver, because why not? Surprise, this is low, but Xavier Legette still widely available at 35.9% rostered. 3 of the past 4 weeks has hit double digits. 2 weeks ago, 13.4. This past week, 13.9. And this week has a pretty good matchup in the Giants. He seems to be the clear one, running the most routes, doing everything he needs to, and Bryce Young seems to trust him. So really like that. He's, again, super talented. We'll just see if that changes with Thielen coming back. I think that might be the potential reason why it's getting lower in his rostership percentage. Sorry. So kind of curious on that. And then other name I'm going to bring up is the same one I brought up last week, and Parker Washington. Got him up to 4%, but Kirk is out for the year. He was running the most routes and played most stats right behind Brian Thomas Jr. Granted, he only saw 4 targets his first games, went 3 for 4 for 46 yards. However, 6 targets this past week, 33 more routes, and then 3 for 6 for 41 yards. So that 40 number he's hitting and the 3 he's hitting, if those numbers go up, you're looking at hopefully a 10. And if he scores, you're looking at a 17. So it's all the little things that matter. But they're going to have to figure out a 2 outside of Evan Ingram. And I think Washington gives them that best opportunity because this is not a good team when it comes to how they actually look. And so they're going to have to throw, and might as well take a shot if you have that deep spot on your bench.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's receivers are definitely better than running backs this last couple of weeks. So Cedric Tillman's an obvious one. I don't really need to go too much into it. Like he's going to be, not available after this week. He's probably potentially the number 1 target for people, and it could continue. Ray McLeod is an interesting one with potentially Drake London hurts. He already plays a lot. McLeod, he's already out there a lot. They run a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. So even if they put someone else in the position, Cordero Hodge, I think is potentially the guy to kind of fill that Drake London role. McLeod's going to be out there. You just look at his snap percentage, 95, 98, 98, 83, 80. Like he's literally out there all the time, and he could get some more targets because he might be. And he's had a few games, recently as well. Like more in the beginning of the year, 7, 5, 7, 9 targets in 4 of his first 5 games. So he's a little bit intriguing, and also, he does returns and stuff like that. So if you do get any type of points there, Quentin Johnston, we talked about it, had a pretty big game. Yeah, the busted coverage. I feel like he's had a couple of those this year, the busted coverages and stuff like that. But you kind of look at his game logs and stuff. You look at like the beginning of the year, 5 and 6 targets, and considering Herbert was only thrown it like 24 times or something, that's pretty good. I think he just kind of provides an important role for that team, and I think he helps the offense kind of go a little bit. Is he going to be reliable? I don't know, but you definitely should be adding him just in case. Jalen McMillan, who's playing tonight in 10 minutes or so, did get ruled out. So I don't know how long that's going to linger, but you probably want to pass on that for now. And then Demarcus Robinson, like the guy's better when, funny enough, like he's better when Kupp and Puka are out there. Like he just fits that role better for whatever reason. Like we think, oh, Cooper Kupp and Puka's out, Demarcus Robinson's going to be a monster. And it's like, not really. Like those other, Whittington and Atwell fill those type of their roles better, and Demarcus Robinson's really just better as like, that third wide receiver.
Van Jefferson.
Yeah. And then 9 targets, 6 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns last 2 weeks. So I don't mind Demarcus Robinson, who we did see last year, like have a top 20, I think, stretch like the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. So he's an intriguing one too.
Steve, you got anybody?
I'm gonna stick to my Juju KC in the slot. He's not playing tonight, but with the game happening on a Monday, if you have a roster spot, you can pick him up for free right now. You don't even need waivers. Mm-hmm. So I still think he's an interesting stash. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to primarily play on the outside. That's what he did in all of his snaps pretty much last week. I think Juju with Rice out is going to see a lot more snaps than he was seeing before because he's going to be their primary slot guy. And you could see weeks when he has 9, 10 targets out of the slot for like 30 or 40 yards, but it's still in a full PPR going to be double-digit points for you. So I think if you're wide receiver desperate and you have the spot, I think Juju's an interesting pickup.
So on that kind of note, what wide receiver are you able to slot in tonight? McMillan's out, so Hopkins is too widely rostered, but everybody else is available. Whether that's Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, Jarrett was another one. Hardman. Like, where are we gonna go? Where are we looking? Because I don't know.
Who do I
Yeah, I
want
don't
to
know.
play this evening? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because people clearly thought they either had McMillan and thought he was going to play,
Mhm.
or I mean, I think that was the big one: is who would you replace him with?
Probably Palmer or Jarrett, one of those guys. I think is where I would go.
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
even
wanna-
know who would be available.
Oh, they're
Jarrett
both
for sure
available.
will be. Yeah, Palmer as well. Yeah.
Nobody's going to have those except for maybe dynasty leagues, more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's all
yeah.
ugly.
So, all right. Well, I figured I'd ask because it's been a one that's been bopping around
Mm-hmm.
on who they're going to play now that he was listed as out. So,
Yeah. Don't forget about, Ricky Pearsall. They were on a bye last week with the 49ers. And then Darius Slayton has always, I don't know if there's been rumors or just people saying like trade him Giants because you don't want to use the guy. He's a good receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But again, health issues.
Yep.
That's his like one downfall. I was like, he can't stay healthy to save his life.
Yeah.
But yeah. On the same note of Pearsall, Jennings, if he's available.
Yep.
Ayuk's going to be out. He seemed to fill that role pretty nicely. So I'd be interesting to see how that works out. But all right. Well, good discussion. On to tight ends because, why not? And we're going to play roulette again because I'm saying Saints tight end. Don't care which one at this point because more than likely with Olave potentially out, he suffered his 5th concussion. I'm worried he might not play the rest of the year, honestly. Just fired the head coach. They're going to have to do something. Bum Means has a high ankle sprain. Shaheed is on the IR. Like, they have to do something. They have to be able to move the ball. Kamara is going to be part of the option. I'm guessing Kendre Miller is going to be another one. So talking about people who are potentially available, that might be another name to throw out there. But Saints tight end. Taysom Hill was the one who had the most success this past week, but it's been Johnson. It's been Foster Moreau. Hasn't really mattered. So all of them are getting around 6+ fantasy points every week. So might as well roll that out and hope for the best.
Yeah. No, I always like Taysom Hill just because he has that upside,
Playing quarterback, rushing.
Yeah, 5 carries and 4 catches. We'll take that for sure. Yeah, I mean, Hunter Henry is always he's always on this list, floating around 50% and 8 targets, 7 catches, 56 yards. He's been really good actually the last 3 weeks. One of the better tight ends. So don't mind that. Always Theo Johnson is intriguing. Again, I think Steve mentioned him last week. A little bit of a deeper dive, but 6 targets, caught a touchdown. So it was a good call on Steve's part there. And yeah, he's getting more and more playing time. And why not? See what you got in your young guys. So you should be going for it for sure. So yeah, there are a couple guys there, but it's always play the matchups. Who can get the best, who has the best chance for a touchdown type of thing as well. So I don't know if there's any long-term guys here. Maybe Taysom if, depending on Olave's status.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's rough. So don't really like any of it. It's this year, again, we had a great week for tight end week and then right back downhill. So
just adding to the conspiracies. Yeah. Adding to the conspiracies that it's all planned by the NFL to get that to become a thing.
And I mean, it works. So,
yeah.
All right. Any sneaky names for us, Steve?
Nope. Theo was my guy, so we're good.
Yeah, still sticking with it. All right.
Yep.
All right. We'll move into defense. And unfortunately, there are no good streaming options this week. So hopefully you picked up the ones we've been suggesting the past couple of weeks. I'm going to be rolling out the Chargers again because they saved my bacon this past week. So we're going to hope for the best. But the one for you guys that is widely available, the Patriots, 13.1% rostered. They play the Bears, who have been struggling. Granted, they've been on the road. So Patriots are actually going to have to go to Chicago to see if that doesn't help things. But They couldn't break 15 points against the Commanders and couldn't beat 10 points versus the Cardinals. I don't know. Patriots, I think, are better defenses than both of those. But again, it really seems like it's a shuffle with what Patriots team is going to show up for you. So I'm nervous on it. And it terrifies me. But it's the best one I could see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good this week, that's for sure. Not a lot of good streamings. I just went Giants against the Panthers, just targeting the Panthers. And I think the Giants they've been keeping games close. I'm pretty sure like all their games are within, like they beat the spreads and over-unders and stuff always go under and all of that stuff. So, they have a pretty good defense. They're 9th in points. That's not including this last week. And you played the Panthers. So also, if anyone drops like the Broncos because they're playing the Chiefs, and that's usually like, oh, people drop their defenses when they see the Chiefs. I don't know if people still feel that way. Maybe they do. I wouldn't mind just picking them up and rolling with them, and even against the Chiefs, who are not an offensive juggernaut, as we know. So.
Well, and if the Chiefs have a big night tonight, which they could potentially, we'll see if this game actually gets out of control or not. But if they do, Broncos will definitely end up being dropped, and you should definitely pick them up because that'd be a lot easier to play for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I got one.
Sweet. Let's hear it.
Atlanta division game against the Saints. Last time they played the Saints, they finished as the number 2 defense on the week. And now the Saints will have no Olave and a new head coach, and their season is going downhill fast. So yeah, they've been a solid team to play against outside of the first 2 weeks. So Atlanta, there you go. And then after that, they've got Denver, which isn't great. But then their bye week, Chargers, Vikings, Raiders, Giants, Commanders, Panthers. I mean, that's a pretty sweet schedule to finish the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the other one I was looking at. With a head coaching change, you always know that I struggle to trust.
It's a division game too, so it's always wonky, but we'll see. If you're desperate, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Well, that'll do it. Let's get out of here. Let's go watch this game. Hopefully it's something interesting. It has been raining all day here, so
good
and kind of windy. It's not going to be super, I'm guessing, but
I need Chiefs defense to give me like 12 points, 11.5 or something. So I think they've done it once in this league I'm in all year, but they've consistently get like 10, 11 points. So I think it's 11.5. So
you need him to max out, huh? Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck. And we're back Wednesday. So, guys, love to hear who you got and see if we can't help. It's going to be an exciting show. But till then, enjoy tonight. We will see you all next week. And remember, as always, to keep up the nonsense.